Thanks for starting your week with us. Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. Before we get started, let's see what we have coming up in the latter half of our program. We take an in-depth look into Korea's export market, which has been struggling for months, and whether things will improve or get even worse in the second half of this year. Buying a home might no longer be a realistic dream for many younger people here in Korea, with the high youth unemployment rate and soaring apartment prices. Let's begin with the day's top business stories. North Korea will be the hardest hit from potential instability in China's economy, as it has no strong alternative trade partners. Now, this is according to Seoul's Korea Institute for International Economic Policy. The institute said that North Korea's exports to China took up over 70% of its outbound shipments from 2009 to 2013. Imports from China accounted for roughly 76% during that same period, most of them being daily necessities like oil, corn, and flour. Recent volatility in China's stock markets and slower growth have prompted concerns that Pyongyang might also face political instability if effects from its neighboring countries spill over into its economy. Fresh from winning shareholders' approval for a merger with its affiliate, Samsung C&T says it aims to grow its sales to more than $52 billion by 2020, an over 10% jump. Over the next 5 years, C&T also pledged to make stronger inroads into the bio-industry sector and secure a place at the top of the global fashion and leisure sectors. Last Friday, the construction arm shareholders greenlit a $7.7 billion all-stock takeover bid by Tail Industries. The merger is scheduled to be completed by September 1st. Domestic banks are still seeing limited success in the overseas market. That's according to Hana Institute of Finance, which said in a report that overseas profits made up only 1 to 7% of total gains, with Korea Exchange Bank topping the list and KB Kookmin Bank at the bottom. This is paltry compared to Japanese banks, which see foreign earnings make up 30% of overall gains. The report urged banks to advance into the capital market rather than rely on business with Korean expats and affiliate companies. More Koreans in their 20s and 30s are opting out of buying their own homes. Faced with the youth unemployment rate in the double digits and other financial burdens, many say that the possibility seems light years away. Exactly how hard is it to buy a home here in Korea? Our Lee Joo-young tells us more.
Buying a home in Korea has been an aspiration for many. But for those in their 20s and 30s, marriage and purchasing a house is not so much considered a dream anymore, but an overbearing challenge. A report from Statistics Korea this year revealed that it would take at least 64 years for an individual to have enough money saved to purchase a house worth around $435,000 in Seoul. For a two-member family, that figure goes down, but it still takes 39 years. For a three-member family, that's 32 years of saving. This calculation excludes student debt and wedding expenses. Taking this long to purchase a home, it has substantially changed the perception of those in the younger age bracket. From an online poll surveying around 100 Korean men and women in their 20s and 30s, more than half said they no longer think they need to buy a home. As to why, the majority responded by saying it's not feasible. Almost 28% said they'd rather spend it elsewhere, and roughly 19% said it's less overwhelming to just pay rent. Home buying may have once been an important milestone for the older generation, but with the youth unemployment rate hitting double digits again last month, it seems a more distant and less crucial achievement in life for many. Lee Joo-young, Business Daily.
As if paying for your purchases isn't already easy, an era of card-less mobile payments is swiftly emerging. Samsung Pay is set to have begun beta testing here in Korea last week, but security still remains the greatest concern. Our Eunice Kim reports.
To pay for a cup of joe, this customer pulls out not his wallet, but his smartphone. From the coffee shop to a pharmacy to the corner market, you no longer need cash or plastic. Pull up the credit card you've already installed on your smartphone, place it against a card reader, and you're good to go. This is Samsung Pay, the Korean conglomerate's mobile payment system currently under beta testing, with a rumored official launch in the domestic market alongside the Galaxy Note 5 in August.
You can say its versatility is wide, as you can use Samsung Pay pretty much anywhere you use a credit card.
That's because Samsung Pay-enabled phones use MST, or magnetic secure transmission, in addition to NFC technology, enabling the platform to be compatible with any magnetic card stripe reader. But security remains a concern, with card app-based systems Naver Pay and Kakao Pay already in business. Fingerprint verification is already adapted into current platforms. And identification through voice and face recognition is being prepped for commercialization.
Unless you artificially change your voice, the wavelengths itself do not change. So it's a very applicable option for identity verification.
With the value of Korea's mobile payment market closing in on $3.4 billion in the fourth quarter of last year and only set to rise, attention is zoning in on who will come out on top in the race towards easy payment. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
The uncertainty still lingers on when the country's main growth engine, exports, will pick up steam, as various factors are expected to play a role in the second half of the year. Unfortunately, things don't look that rosy for now. And to tell us more about this, we're joined by our Kwon Soa in the studio today. Hello, Soa.
Hi, Jiyoon.
All right, so how bad of a situation are we talking about here?
Well, considering that Korea posted a negative growth of around 5% this year compared to last year, we should be quite concerned here. But although things haven't been that bad in June, it's the uncertainties, as you mentioned, that are troubling, since a lot of them stem from what's happening outside of Korea. Now, the impact has been so great that it's hurting not only conglomerates, but it's also trickling down and affecting people's everyday lives. And things could become even more serious.
Has the glitter gone? It's a question the government, companies, experts, and everyone directly or indirectly affected by the negative growth in Korea's exports is asking themselves these days. That said, just a matter of months ago, some had expressed optimism about the outlook for the second half of the year.
Exports have been declining for 4 months, but we're positive about the latter half of 2015, especially as the US and European economies are improving.
Projections like these, however, came before the MERS outbreak, which had a bigger impact on Korea's economy than many had expected.
The situation is actually much worse than a year ago after the Sewol ferry sinking.
And external factors such as the debt crisis in Greece, China's stock market meltdown, slower than predicted growth in the US, and the weak Japanese yen pose a much greater threat.
It doesn't look like there will be a turnaround in the latter half of the year. Global demand is expected to stay sluggish.
That also goes for Korea's flagship export sectors.
Vendors at markets like this, sitting right next to the world's #1 shipbuilder, are directly feeling the effects of hardships Korea's manufacturing sector and exporters are going through.
This married couple is a classic example. Song Bum-mo works at Hyundai Heavy Industries, Korea's biggest shipbuilding company, and his wife Ta Hwa-sun owns a small restaurant in a nearby market.
So many shops have closed down.
When the company was going through good times, the markets here were bustling, but they aren't anymore as new export orders have been on the decline since the end of last year.
During the first half of the year, Korea's ship exports tumbled by a monthly average of more than 42% on year.
Some experts say Korea might lose its #1 spot to China soon. China is also fiercely chasing after Korea in the steel, electronics, and IT sectors.
China is enforcing its policies in the domestic market. We need to reduce our dependency on China and broaden our export markets. Korea should also put greater attention on the United States as we expect to see the U.S. economy pick up a head of steam going forward.
The days when Korea's export-oriented strategy worked wonders appear to be over. It has left many questioning whether the country needs a new formula to get the economy on a faster growth track.
And so what formula could that be, like you said in the report?
Well, experts suggest some new strategies, such as bringing back manufacturing bases abroad back to Korea to enhance production within the country. And this especially so as the added value of exports has been shrinking, such as that of petrochemicals and electronics.
And those were some of Korea's leading sectors.
Right.
But then if those sectors are losing value, then should the country be focusing on other fields?
Maybe, yes, and that could be the service sector, for instance, which represents less than 14% of exports. But according to a recent study, the value of the service exports rose by some 35% from 1995 to 2011.
All right, well then, is the Korean government implementing any measures?
Yes, it is, and one of its latest plans includes the Trade Ministry spending of around $100 billion from the private and public sectors to raise competitiveness of key export products, support small and mid-sized exporters, and for R&D investment for next-generation growth engines.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see if those measures will bring about better results.
Let's hope for that.
All right, thank you so much for coming in today, Zoa.
My pleasure.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with more business news that matters to you. Until then, goodbye.